This is World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with your host, Carl Gruber. World Awakenings is a podcast dedicated to opening your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how they play an all-important role in our daily life. So join Carl on this enlightening experience as he interviews metaphysical and spiritual experts to discuss, debate, and delve deeply into the hows and whys of this worldwide awakening.
Welcome to the World Awakenings podcast. But before we start, I'd like to tell you about my very special ebook I wrote called The 3 Pillars, a simple 3-step process to manifest positive and permanent change in your life. This concise 32-page 3-pillar ebook will teach you how to become a successful and consistent co-creator of your life path with the law of attraction. Yes, you can manifest the life you truly desire. And this ebook is absolutely free. Simply scan the QR code you now see on the screen or click on the link you see below in the show notes and get your free download today. The 3 Pillars ebook, written by me, Carl Gruber, will positively change your life. Download your copy today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It is I, Carl Gruber, your show host, and this is episode number 196 of the show, World Awakenings, a fast track to enlightenment. Today we continue our journey, our mission of finding out why now more than ever the people of the world are awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening. And if you are one of those people seeking the knowledge and understanding of all things beyond the visible 3D world, hang on to your seat because we have yet another guest on today's show that is going to blow the lid off all your preconceived notions and limiting paradigms about the world we live in and beyond. So with that, our guest today, and I'm so excited about this, is Sananda Kryst, who was my guest over 2 years ago on episode number 75. And we enjoyed her visit so much, we welcome her back now here on episode number 196. Now, Sananda's sole mission here on Earth is to be a healer in every aspect of the word and a dimensional phase of enlightenment. She is pioneering and evolving a new paradigm while working with high-frequency codes, crystalline light, template reality blueprints, advanced fusion technology, and she speaks unlimited light language as a multi-channel. What do you guys hear of this? It is phenomenal. Now, she is here on Earth as a Communications Officer and Emissary for the Galactic Nation. Sananda is also an ambassador for the Pleiadians and Telos and represents the Star Council and the Earth's Pleiadian Council of Light. Her name, Sananda, means Ascended One, and is the ascended name of Yeshua, or Jesus, embodying the Christ consciousness. She resides, and I think this is amazing, she resides at 1,000 on David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, and her frequency places her in the physical realm with the vibration of an ascended master. And just a quick note for everybody watching or listening, Sananda interchangeably speaks the Universal Galactic Light Language with human language as we talk, so get ready for that. So with that, welcome back, Sananda. It's been 2 years.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. So yes, I speak generally intermittent light language and English, and when you start doing that, English is actually quite difficult to speak because it is a lower density form of communication. But I will do my best to, as I'm speaking, to speak English, and if I am speaking light language, to interpret that for you.
Well, and that makes sense that English, Earth language is of lower density because on the scale of consciousness, on David Hawkins' scale of consciousness, the Earth, the humanity is vibrating at a pretty low level, I think 207 or something like that.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing, but it's also at the same time wonderful because we are coming into it. There are many more people speaking light language, and it will become the norm where you walk into a coffee shop and people are speaking their soul language or other languages that they're remembering, bringing through, and you could be speaking two different languages and yet understanding one another. And that's already happening.
Wow, yeah, and I have had many guests on here have done light language, but they kind of do it intermittently. But on the first show you did with me, you recounted your earlier times when you were living as an ordinary human life, but then was awakened to your galactic connection. Could you give us a brief, short version of that again, of your life before that?
Yeah. Well, I have to admit, I've always been awake, but from an age of 4 on, I am, and still actually currently an abductee, except this time when they come and take me, I am very cognizant and I speak to them. And, when, having this ongoing conversation with them. Also, there was a time frame where I just shut it down because I didn't have the help or support that was needed. And in beautiful hindsight, it was probably the right thing that happened to me, because if I would have blown open back then, I could have ended up in a psychiatric ward, with the hearing the voices and stuff. So everything works out in perfect order. I was a flight attendant for over 20 years, and this is kind of when it all kind of started coming out. Um, and kaya ko nana niya tbulubu kia takaya na monkoa talamakia. Tawala yibidibi ko. I also want to interject. There's a lot of throat chakra work going on. So if I have a little cough, that's what's transpiring, because the people that are listening to this, they're receiving a healing around a clearing of the throat chakra. Kaya samokota. So getting back, flight attendant, I got hurt. And it was interesting because I knew that I was ready to leave the job, the career, but like most everybody else, couldn't. Because I was stuck in that paradigm of sorry.
That's all right.
Um, so what I'm hearing is that somebody's having some really big resistance to receiving the
Oh,
healing. Wow, come on,
you you mean one of the audience of people watching
yeah.
or hearing this is very resistant and it's causing this?
Yeah, there's a lot of resistance taking place. So what I can do is I'm able to feel into the audience. I'm able to feel into the future,
Mm.
and those who are going to be listening to it. So there we go. Kamalama lemenia kiet olomo kotala lemien tikit pokotala lamakaya. Alala nini minia talamakoa. Okay, I'm hearing that part has been cleared. Kawala kotaba yikitikitala mana nyana makaya. Wow. Ko si minia talamako tamanamako chibichi pikuta palamako talavia.
Well, taking
They're actually very anxious. Because they feel the changes that are transpiring in their life and they're not knowing what to do. So I'm here to let you know to just allow and let it happen. And my story is a beautiful reflection of what you are transpiring through. So I'll continue the work in the background. So yeah, I mean, I was stuck in the paradigm because I'd worked over 20 years thinking, oh, I only have 12 to 15 years left to go before I retire, because I was making good money. And even though I was the job, it was not good for me anymore. I just was stuck with it. And, beautiful divine always comes in, and I'm sure it was in cohorts with my higher self. It took me out physically.
Mm.
So I couldn't do the job no more. And I tried to go back to it. I tried occupational therapy and all that, and it was no. And so I started working on what I thought was a plan B, and plan B actually was my healing abilities coming online, because the time away from my job gave me the ability to work on myself and to just really blow open. And it's been an amazing ride ever since. So there you go.
Wow, this is, it is amazing. As we know, all things work out in the right way at the right time for the good of you and all involved. And so that's a beautiful example. But, you most definitely are what is called a channel, but you seem different from what is termed a trance channel. Most trance channels allow a non-physical being to speak through them, but most of them don't remember what was spoken through them. You, however, seem to be on all the time as the Pleiadians speak through you. And you obviously remember what you say because you translate the light language, correct?
Yeah, I do. I can do it on the spot, but if you ask me an hour from now, I'll probably wouldn't be able to tell you. So I can do it on the spot. I don't hold the information unless it's important, and then the guides just keep it there for me in the forefront if it's needed. I have the ability to channel. I'm so deeply already connected telepathically to the galactics, the Pleiadians, beautiful sended masters, that I don't necessarily channel anymore because I am so connected. I can at the same time share my physical vessel and channel when somebody comes in, and I also have the ability to totally vacate my body and let that beautiful being take. If you, I don't, will take over and bring in the information that's needed for whoever I'm working with, even if it's for my personal self, because I'll bring in my guides and then have my partner Tony ask them questions that we have. And then so we get beautiful advice from our guides that way. Yeah.
I love that. But I'm really curious, and we already talked about this, but Dr. David Hawkins' famous scale of consciousness notes that humans and humanity as a whole reside at different levels of consciousness, ranging all the way from 20 up to 1,000, and humanity as itself, as I mentioned, is only at 207. Now, you state that in your current human form, you reside at the level of 1,000, the highest. And here's what Hawkins says about the levels of 700 to 1,000. This is the level of the great ones of history who originated the spiritual patterns that countless people have followed throughout the ages. All are associated with divinity with which they are often identified. This is the level of powerful inspiration. These beings set in place attractor energy fields that influence all of mankind. How did it come to be that you have reached this state of total enlightenment?
A lot of self-healing. No stone goes unturned, and being open to, I think I've been living most of my life since I got on this path and got hurt. I made a choice that enlightenment was my number one goal. And kind of, I would say not give, I said, oh yeah, I could say I gave up my free will, but my free will became divine will. So whatever my guides came in and asked me to do, I did it, whether I was wanting to do it or not, but I always knew it was for my highest good. And so I just did it. And then that put me on a nomad journey. I put my stuff in storage. I actually went back and a year later and got rid of almost everything. I'm down to like a 5x10 storage unit left in Minnesota. But I have been on a nomad journey for 3.5 years. I can't remember if I was on it must have been definitely on the nomad journey 2 years, because it's been going on for a couple of years. And it ended up being 1 year in the US, mainly West Coast. And the rest of that time after that has been all international. And part of it was for my mastery healing. And I was also doing earth work, earth grid work, earth healing work. I was communicating with the earth, receiving, like each country I would go to, I would merge with the land down to the point where I would feel the dirt, the grass, the bugs, the trees, everything, the water. And so I carry that essence of each of those countries with me. And so I've probably been to 17 or 18 different countries right now, and carry that embodiment with me. And that's part of the mastery training. And then meeting some beautiful teachers along the way. And just allowing and surrendering to whatever comes. That's, I guess, it in a nutshell. I have come back around to, I have instilled back some of my free will. But ultimately, I always check in. It's always in balance with divine will, because what is best for my highest good and for humanity and what I'm here to do, becoming very clear on what I'm here to do, and it changes. So you're, as a caveat, your soul's purpose is more than one thing. It may start out as one thing, like I started out as a healer. And also at the same time, I've been working with Mother Earth around the world, healing, cleansing, clearing, merging, opening up stargates, creating stargates, powering up dormant crystals, you name it, I do it. So I'm at a beautiful place where I always say, people say, what do you do? And I say, well, I do everything but breath work and sound bowls. So yeah, it's just ultimately it's remembering who you are and what you can do. And it's just letting that all come forward.
Well, let's talk about. I know you had mentioned to me earlier before we started recording here that the Council of Light wants you to be more identifying with Christ consciousness. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, that is part of the reason why I carry the name Sananda Kryst. Sananda is the name of the ascended form of Yeshua or Jesus. It's the name he took after he ascended. It is Christ consciousness. The galactics are very much a part of the Christ consciousness. They're saying development and ascension. They're saying that as from the galactic side, it is like they are adhering to not only the premise but the codes of enlightenment with the Christ consciousness. So within that, I embody Yeshua. And with that is very close communication with Yeshua. It's like we are as one now. Um, there are many people who walk this earth that are fractals of Yeshua or Jesus. And sometimes some of them look like that, look like him. It doesn't mean that they are not reincarnations of Jesus. Let's just put it that way. A lot of people think they are because they carry an element or fragment of Jesus. I have been told the awareness of Jesus is actually here as a feminine, and has reached enlightenment as a man, and now is here for the feminine, helping not only the rise of the feminine, which is already happening, but also bringing in the balance with the masculine. So ultimately, Jesus is both feminine and masculine. So there is no identity to his or her, if you want to say, genre. I am a very spiritual person with the Christ consciousness. I am not a religious person. There's a big difference there. And it has to do with being in your own truth, what comes from your heart and your knowing, being aligned with your own divine essence is ultimately, they're saying, the key, being aligned to your own divine essence.
Well, you mentioned that you identify as being one with Christ, but isn't that true of every human? It's just that 99.9% of them have forgotten that.
Right, right. Exactly. So there is this, if you want to say, movement that is taking place of the rise of the Christ consciousness in all of us. And yet whatever that means to you, because there's no judgment, there's no ego. It is what it means to you, your truth. And I think that has a lot to do with no longer being a follower, but being a leader in your own life. That is what Christ consciousness is about. And living in that unconditional love. helping mankind. We're not here to do it alone. We've heard all these words before, and that is the sole essence of it. And you will get to the point when you do work with your higher selves and you move through the chakras that you actually do connect with, you can call it the eye of the creator, the Christ consciousness. It has a consciousness of which I see and I work with. And it's a beautiful, amazing consciousness.
Yeah, wow. Very, very interesting. This may seem like a weird question, but I had read that Jesus at the peak when he was totally enlightened, he really could locate his from one area to another just by thinking about it or moving it. It would seem to me that at this level of enlightenment that you could blip in and out of your body as you desire because you realize your body's just energy. Is that true, or am I just being silly?
No, that's true. I do that. By locate, I can go anywhere I want, whether it's within this planetary system or another planetary system. I travel through wormholes. You name it, I do it. So it is amazing. Every day's you never know what's going to happen or where you're going to go or where you're going to be asked to go for the work. Because I don't talk a lot about the work. A lot of starseeds don't always talk about what they're doing on the side besides their healing work. So there is a lot going on to help Earth and humanity. It's just not spoken about. Yeah, you do. You get to a point where sometimes I just have to really make sure when I'm here, I'm grounded here into Mother Earth. Because I am working, we always say working so much up here in my upper chakras or in other realities that I do check in when I really need to be here on Earth and do the things I need to do here.
Well, if you can bilocate, I guess you don't need an airplane to go to the countries, right?
It's it's interesting because I think there's more for me to learn. I feel like when I bilocate, I know that I've totally gone, and then I'm walking around in that existence in a body, but yet my physical body is still here, still whether it's sitting or laying in a bed. But I am working and moving within another field of existence. It's interesting, but yet it's kind of hard to describe. And I guess I look forward to the day when I can actually take this physical body with me. But then at the same time, I'm hearing it's not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I know you had mentioned earlier that you were an abductee. So have you visited the star system where the Pleiadians originate?
I go there. I'm so busy going to other places that I don't get to spend a lot of time back in the Pleiades. I do know that myself multidimensionally am there, but as far as my physical remembrance, I'm out and about in quite a few other places at one time.
Okay, wow. Boy, this is an interesting conversation. I love it. I don't get to ask other people this stuff, but you're definitely the one. But the driving force of this show is to answer the question, why now more than ever are the people of the world awakening to all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening? So I ask you, Council of Light, why here? Why now?
Because our ascension is necessary and needed for their ascension. The other planets, other galaxies, systems, particularly our own, and those planets and stuff that we are not knowing that are in existence, are needing us to ascend. It's the premise of we're not here to do it alone. It's Tokula malaya tapoku te balani na nemiko tu la no pu tu la yibiki at punya na mana mokucha la no mana mokucha la yeni and chikwa na na yana na kituba. Lolo will wiki chikia talala. So I'm also, as I'm speaking, I'm asking, how can I describe this to you? They're showing, they're saying that I said it correctly, that they cannot ascend without us ascending. Because It's really hard. It's like I can see it, but to describe it, yeah. All I know is I can tell you is that there are many ships outside our galaxy traveling here to watch what is happening here on Earth. Because so we are like the talk of the town, we're the talk of the galaxy. Because Earth is ascending at such a great rate that it is sending out and beaming out so much light and energy that it's attracting others, and they're coming to see what's going on. It's kind of it's very unprecedented. There are other planets like Mercury, Mars, particularly Mercury, who went through a similar an ascension, but they're wanting us to, one of the things they told me about 2 months ago, I think it was for January, is that they don't want us to go through what they went through. And so they're watching, everybody's watching. Yeah, it's ultimately we are all one. So if we don't ascend, they don't ascend. And they can't necessarily intervene. We can ask for assistance, like personally from the Galactics, we can ask for assistance, but to come in and stop something, they don't have that free reign. So I think there's a big misconception out there that we're going to be saved by the Galactics if something happens. And ultimately, not really. Because it is our consciousness, our creative collective consciousness that is producing what is happening.
Well,
That's another whole conversation.
Well, everything you said really spiritually is a confirmation of the spiritual teachings that in reality there is no separation and that we are all one. So it would make sense to me that if they can't ascend, the Pleiadians or other galactics, until we ascend.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of talk about the event. And I've gotten very clearly from my higher consciousness and speaking to others' higher consciousness, there is no event. If you want to put that term on something, we are the event. We are creating and producing this. Are there things that are going to happen on the earth that could be very catastrophic? Yes, but that's part of Earth reclaiming her essence and moving back into alignment, and to also be in alignment with where Earth and humanity is trying to go into the 5D or higher. So she's also part of that along with us. So if you believe that Armageddon and catastrophe is going to be upon you, that is what you are creating. Ultimately, that is what is creating, and that is what is going to come to you. It doesn't mean that I won't be affected by it. The only thing they've told me to do is just have some water on hand and maybe some candles. And they said, why does nobody talk about what beautiful, positive things will happen during this? It's not the dark doom and gloom, because there's always light and dark. You can't have one without the other. So yeah, that's another big conversation, but that's kind of the top skim of it all. Yeah.
Well, I guess you kind of answered this already, but is the chaos of Earth and its inhabitants increasing in direct response to the awakening? And if so, why?
Yeah, the chaos, there's a lot of chaos because a lot of people are waking abruptly and they're not being able to psychologically handle what is going on, because for some people it's happening very abruptly and for others it's not, and there's no right or wrong, but a lot of people are having a hard time wrapping around what is happening to them in their life, because they're being pushed quite hard, nudged to make changes in their life. And it is, unfortunately, it's just the way it is happening. There are some people who need extra assistance in the mind field. And as I'm speaking about this, I'm already sending out additional energy to those who need that balance within the brain, because there's such a big opening. It's like all the neurons are firing off, and Yeah, it's different for everyone. Always seek help. You're not here to do it alone. You're not going crazy. There are many who feel like you. They're just probably not talking about it because they think that they're going crazy and you're not. Yeah.
Well, what you said, I personally have felt that nudge for a long time. And I'll be honest, I mean, every day there's some form of resistance that pops up. I mean, at some point, it's just kind of, you got to say, all right, enough already, and that's just me, but I'm sure there's 8 billion supposedly separate human beings on the planet, so there's a lot of people out there who feel that way too.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the resistance shows you where the healing is needed. And if you don't listen to what is coming up, it's going to come around and basically smack you again. And
Mm.
it's going to keep doing it till you change, make a different choice. And those lessons, if you want to call them that, are getting louder and louder. And when you don't pay attention and listen to them, uh, usually I would say more negative things tend to happen, or the because you're not making a different choice. The the resistance or whatever's coming back at you is going to continue to be louder and louder. And therefore you keep saying, why is this happening to me? Well, why aren't you changing? You're doing the same thing and getting the same outcome. It's that scenario. Uh, so yeah, there's a lot of that going on, and it may mean moving. It may mean changing jobs. You know, and it's also at the same time also contractual. You agreed to do this, to wake up this way, and that's kind of a big pill to swallow sometimes. But you can make it easier on yourself. It can be ease and grace. I've gone through so much, and there have been times, that I'll just tell myself, no, I want it with ease and grace, and it's delivered that way. And I work with so many clients when they're moving through something very emotional or traumatic, um, and they're just wanting to, there's like screaming or yelling or crying. And I just come in I talk to them. I say, it doesn't have to be hard. And I immediately calm down. It's just, it doesn't have to be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of resistance, do you still feel like you did at the beginning of the show that there's a viewer or listener out there, or plural listeners and viewers that are still resisting this, or are they opening up a little bit more?
Not anymore.
Ah, good job, Pleiadians. I like it. Oh, that's awesome. What about the spiritual aspects of what you speak about and teach? The vast majority of humanity adheres to the belief that there is a place unseen by the human eye called heaven, where God resides and where all humans will eventually return. Is this in alignment with what you teach and believe?
No, not really. I believe that we are the heaven essence already. We just have forgotten.
Mm.
Um, Earth is more, I consider Earth more like the hell aspect, where all the trials and tribulations and the negativity is ongoing that we're moving through. Heaven is a perception. And once you engage in it, within the divine aspect of yourself and really connect with the creator's consciousness, that in itself, that bliss that you feel, that is your heaven. And when we do leave this earth, we have this energy essence that we can go anywhere. Because we're these beautiful souls who are trying to constantly are wanting to evolve. And I guess I don't see it as, when I leave, I'm going to a special place. When I leave, I can feel like I can go anywhere for my next, if you want to call it, lesson or evolution. I know that right now this is my last lifetime here on Earth. I've been here over 3,300 and something like 68 years. This is mix 69. This is my last year. And I'm very much in alignment with that. It's also probably the reason why I didn't have any children. So there's no more lineage ongoing. And it was also just the way my life turned out, or the journey of my life. I've done this kind of work many times, but being on Earth for over 3,000 years, I feel like, okay, I've had enough. And I've done this kind of work on other planets, and I probably will continue to, but I've asked, at least for now, to do it in a different capacity. And of course, that's my human perspective, chiming in on that. And, that's always open to evaluation when I return to my soul energy essence, not in this physical form. If that makes sense.
We're processing it. We're processing.
Yeah. You just have to remember there's unlimited scenarios. We have so many multidimensional realities happening at the same time. And I'm right now physically in this reality, living this life. And, when somebody's going through something and they're not in alignment with you're doing, that's okay. That's their reality. And we have to really remember that we're not in the same reality. Every single person is in their own reality and creating their reality constantly every second of time, by the choices they make. And that's why people come and go out of your life, because you're no longer in alignment with them. And you'll come to a point where when you are working on yourself, the healing, the wounds, often called shadow work, you find that you can no longer hang out with the same people anymore because you don't resonate with them, and you can't actually even go down and be in that vibrational field anymore. You have to be here. And so yeah, it's an amazing journey. Unlimited possibilities, just like there's unlimited dimensions, that we don't even know about. I can traverse quite a few of them, and there's no numbers to them. Just like when I go outside this galaxy and I go travel quite far, the galaxies only have numbers because sometimes there are no names, it's only energy.
Well, I'd like to talk a little bit more about light language. I mean, you've been speaking that quite a bit here on and off during the show and all the time. So, light language itself is the universal galactic language. And you say that even if here as a human, and I may not understand what you're saying, but deep down, I do understand what you're saying. Can you tell us about that?
Because it bypasses the ego and it's discerned with your heart. The light language, or love language, if you want to call it, comes from your heart. And a lot of it is remembrance. You will be speaking your own soul language, and you will be speaking languages of other lifetimes or other realities that you are in. You can tap into the consciousness as you grow, the consciousness, let's say, of elephants, or the consciousness of dirt or the grass. They all have their own consciousness, and you can tap into that and speak that or communicate with them. And then they have the galactics, all the different galactic languages that you can actually speak, because there is an aspect of you in another reality that is actually Pleiadian or Syrian or Turian, Anunnaki, whatever it is. And then those languages can come through to you. And it's very interesting. I don't feel like I'm necessarily I have a connection to the Anunnaki. Right now, it is as a Pleiadian emissary with them. I've been on their ships, I speak with them, and they actually came to me one day at dinner and was helping me with my throat so I can speak their language very fluidly for the future, because I'm also part of an open contact specialist when that time comes. So Yeah, some of the languages that was not Anunnaki, but are Pleiadian. Kita dalano ko diba ya na tina na kiti kichiwaka nakati wala biki chikitalani mekia. But these languages will come to you, and they come to you at certain vibrations too. And I know I do this for vibrations, but actually vibration is all around you. Um, so yeah, and I have the ability to speak one language, slide into another language, and speak like one or two languages, yet carry in the frequency of multiple frequencies of different languages at the same time as I'm moving through different languages.
Wow, beautiful. I've actually had, another a couple years ago, maybe even longer, one a guest who sang light language, and it was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it is beautiful. There's singing, writing, reading. A lot of people are doing art with it. Uh, Light languages, especially when you start writing it, there are certain light codes that can come through in writing. And yeah, there's gonna be more and more of it. And some people may do writing, but they don't necessarily speak it or interpret it. They don't know what they're writing, and that comes in time. You're able to do all of that.
Yeah, very interesting. Another aspect that I'm interested in, as you well know, I've had many, many different galactic beings and ascended masters here on this show who speak through a human channel, and every one of these beings that come through are benevolent and loving. But I read that there are some galactic beings and entities who are not so friendly and loving. Is this true?
Uh, well, you could say yes. It's all comes down to discernment and where you are at as a channel yourself. Because once you start channeling and it's like you have this beacon or this sign that says, I channel, and all these entities of being want to pop in. I mean, I've had some early on just pop in because they just want to feel like what it's like to be in a human body. And then they leave. Or I ask them to leave, or I push them out. So you as a channel have the responsibility of knowing that, or having that discernment of when you kind of go into that mode of who you're bringing in. Um, and most of us, I would assume most of us um, can feel, well, I feel the energy of the being before it even comes into me, before I'll even allow it into me. And those that I channel regularly, I immediately recognize their energy signature and I just let them in. So yeah, I think in my early years, there were probably a few, if you want to say, negative beings that come in, but I looked at it as it was a life experience for me to go through it so I know what it feels like, and also to have the ability to remove them myself.
Mm.
To become, if you're going to be a channeler and somebody comes in, you've got to also have the ability to get them out if they're not of a high vibration. But I would say most channelers are attuned to that and they just don't allow them in. And it also, when you start channeling too, the vibration of the being you are channeling is similar to your vibration. That's why also with light language. So when you raise your vibration or your frequency, you're always, at a new higher level. So let's say I'm channeling Saint Germain and I'm new at it. So I'm channeling the vibration of Saint Germain probably around that level, maybe a little higher. And then when I raise it, and the channeling becomes clearer also, and you're also not placing your own human values or thought forms into the channel, because I listen to a lot of people channel and I'm like, oh, but I can spot it right away. It's like that's their perspective, that's not actually being channeled. And that's just vibrational, and that also has to do with being a very clear channel and taking care of yourself psychically, like we call psychic hygiene, and making sure you're maintaining your clear channel. That's very important. So it's probably a little more than what you were asking, but
It's wonderful. I like that you said that when a negative energy or being comes in, that you realize that you can dismiss them, because if you choose to be in Christ consciousness and alignment, then you have that divine power to say, no, you're not well.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. My light, once, you raise your vibration, your light gets brighter and brighter. So you're attracting everything to you. And it comes down to, your own discernment. And, when you're in unconditional love, non-judgment, you can just say yes or no, because you still have to be true to yourself. And that is actually interesting, where a lot of the throat chakra clearing comes through. So you speak your truth and you're just saying, no, this isn't happening. And make that choice for yourself. If you want the experience, go ahead. But know that you should be able in a place where you can also remove them.
Wow, we are speaking with the amazing Sananda Kryst. She is the ambassador for Earth's Pleiadian Council, I believe that's it. And here doing some light language and explaining all this incredible stuff to us, which we love. I do have kind of a very deep question here about the universe itself, and I know we're a little bit running out of time, but I recently read a research paper that called The Simple Electric Universe, written by Wal Thornhill, and he states that almost the entire visible universe is composed of plasma. However, unlike gases that we're familiar with on Earth, plasma reacts strongly in the presence of electromagnetic fields. Its behavior has been described as complex and lifelike. And that the universe is principally an electrical plasma phenomena. Is that true? Can you speak about that?
Yeah, that is true. But what is missed is there's also an element of fusion energy here that is that you can tap into. It requires a certain, I shouldn't say requires a certain vibration, but a knowing of what you're working with. To me, there are levels of energy that, the first is the energy we're in, then there's the crystalline light, then there's the plasma, and they all have a different, for me, when I work with them, they all have a different look or signature to them. And then I've just recently, probably within the last year, started working with fusion energy. And that has a very galactic element to it. But, Earth is a part of the galactic system. And I know that there's more even beyond that. So it's just tapping the surface. So in a nutshell, yeah, Earth is very much a plasma. It's held within her, but there's more. There's definitely more.
I ask that because I have had twice on this show Christina Hill, who channels Athela from Sirius B, an ascended master, and Athela and the Syrians speak quite a bit about Blu-ray plasma light, and they talk quite a bit about it. I think Athela said that plasma is more like Jello; you can shape and form your reality out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have worked with the Blu-ray light from the Syrians. It's very beautiful, loving. But plasma does have that, remember those old lava lamps?
Yeah, right.
I'm dating myself, the lava.
I was a hippie.
Yeah. I'm like a mini hippie here. So imagine like plasma light is like that. It's just and it can be different colors. I see it a lot in pink form, because to me, the pink frequency is one of love. And it is also associated for me with Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary. So I work a lot with for me, pink plasma, but it's kind of like that same form of just movement. Yeah.
Yeah, wow, interesting. Oh my gosh, you're right. We could do several shows on everything. We've covered a lot here, and just amazing, incredible stuff. I could ask you a million questions here, but one thing Sananda, you offer humans a unique chance to connect with their divinity through, the Pleiadians and your friends coming through you. You offer many virtual and live workshops and one-on-one counseling and coaching. Can you tell us about those that you offer?
Absolutely. My one-on-one session is the sacred healing. This is 90 minutes, and it is a deep dive into your realm, because I communicate with your higher self, your guides, and any other beautiful beings that want to assist you, helping where, here it comes again. I will do anything that your higher self asks me to do to get you where you need to be. And I've seen amazing things happen in sessions. So it is all based on your journey. And yeah, it's hard to describe when you can say I can do anything it needs to be done without being specific. But activations, working within your DNA, yeah, you name it, can take place. I also have a container right now called the Residence Program. This is an intensive, inclusive, where you come and basically live with myself and my partner Tony for 5 days, and we totally come in and deconstruct you. That usually takes place the first 2.5 days of healing and being held in a very loving and safe and comfort, and turning you around and working within the new vibration and new self, and getting you set with tools in which you need to move on to your life once you leave the retreat, that one-on-one intensive retreat. It's also available for groups. It's also available for businesses, because I have the ability to tap into the soul of your business, the soul of your clients, and future projects that wants to come forward. So there's different avenues there. And occasionally we're starting to do retreats. Right now we're in the process of possibly thinking of one in Greece in September. That's to be seen. We just did one last year in Turkey, in Ephesus, which was amazing. Yeah, and you're unaware of this, but I just launched my intuitive multidimensional jewelry. And this was one of the pieces. So these pieces, the embodied collection, are the Sananda consciousness, along with the galactic realm, alchemizing a spiritual alignment. And each piece has a channeled purpose for you. And it's been a beautiful love of mine of creation, because healing, I love and enjoy healing, but I needed something more, something else tangible in my life. And that creating in the jewelry does that. So that is also showing you that I'm here doing more than one thing. I'm doing my healing purpose, my healing sessions, what is for humanity, but so is my jewelry, because we are here to remember that when we were in the Atlanteans, Lemurians, Egyptian, we wore energy pieces to help us with our own alignment during those times. So vibrational pieces. So that is also what is transpiring.
Wow. And everybody can find out about all these things on your website. What is your website?
It's Pleiadianportal.com, and my jewelry website is sanandakryst.design.
And I will put that all in the show notes. And our Pleiadian friends, is there one last thing you'd like to say to our listeners and viewers before we go?
Yeah, they would like to bring in a channeled activation. So they just ask that you are in receiving. You will receive whatever it is that you are needed for your highest good. I'm also feeling that there's kind of an energetic nudge coming in along with this, so don't be surprised. So they're also saying that they are thanking us for our service, for humanity. They also want you to know that you cannot do anything wrong. So I'm currently just addressing those who have some perfectionism. Here we go.
Wow, with that, we're going to finish up here with Sananda. Thank you for being on World Awakenings again. Hopefully we can have you back on again at another point. And I don't speak light language, at least not at the moment, but I can say namaste.
Thank you, beautiful. You will.
This has been another episode of World Awakenings, the fast track to enlightenment with host Carl Gruber, a certified Law of Attraction life coach. We welcome you to tune in to each and every episode of World Awakenings as we open your mind, your heart, and your eyes to the fact that the world's population is now, more than ever, awakening to the truth of all things spiritual, metaphysical, and enlightening, and just how much they play an all-important role in our moment-to-moment daily life. Much love and light to you, my friend, and thank you for tuning into World Awakenings.